This is not political, except it is. The Sports Business Journal has a report out now that of the top 100 shows of 2022, 94 of them are sports. And of the 94 that are sports, 82 of them are NFL games. Let me just read you the list of the top 25 from 1 to 25. Number 1 was Super Bowl 56, Rams versus the Bengals. 110 million people watched. Number 2 was the NFC Championship game between the Rams and the 49ers. Then the AFC Championship, Chiefs-Bengals. Then the AFC Divisional Playoff between the Chiefs and the Bills. Then the Thanksgiving game between the Giants and Cowboys. Then the wild card game between the 49ers and the Cowboys. Then the NFC Divisional Playoff, Buccaneers versus Rams. Then the NFC Divisional Playoffs, Packers versus 49ers. Then number 9 is non-political. 34,646,000 watched Joe Biden's State of the Union. Then it was the Bills-Lions Thanksgiving game. Then the AFC Divisional Playoff, Titans-Bengals. Then it was NFC Wildcard, Buccaneers-Eagles, AFC Wildcard, Chiefs-Steelers. Then it was the Cowboys-Packers game. Then it was the AFC Wildcard, Bengals-Raiders game. Then it was Eagles-Cowboys, Cowboys-Vikings, Bengals-Cowboys, Cardinals-Cowboys, Packers-Buccaneers. You will notice the Cowboys are disproportionately represented in the top 20. You go from 21 to 40. At number 30, you have the 11th night of the Beijing Olympics that occurred after the Super Bowl game. Number 35, you have the College Football Championship of 2022, which was Georgia versus Alabama. Number 36 was this year's semifinal on December 31st, the Peach Bowl, Georgia versus Ohio State. Number 41 was college football playoff between TCU and Michigan. 42 was the Macy's Day Parade. Number 50, 19,400,000 people watched the January 6th House committee meeting that was televised in the evening. Number 64 was the North Carolina Duke basketball game. 66 was the Kansas North Carolina basketball game. Number 67 was the FIFA World Cup final between Argentina and France. Number 69, another one of the 8th of the House Committee on January 6 hearings. 76 was the Rose Bowl, Ohio State and Utah. 77 was the Academy Awards. 86 was the Kentucky Derby. 87, the Beijing Olympics opening ceremony. 88 was Volodymyr Zelensky's address to Congress. 93 was the FIFA World Cup U.S.-England game. Overwhelmingly sports, overwhelmingly NFL. Major League Baseball and the NBA did not rank. In fact, I would submit to you this highlights the level of politicization of NBA, that they just got shut out altogether. No one wanted to watch NBA games. In the top 100, no one of NBA. What I find funny there is that disproportionately online, people talk about the NBA, particularly on the left, but in reality, nobody's watching them. What I find more remarkable here is twofold. The NFL dominated everything streaming and not. And this, by the way, data includes streaming. More people are still watching on TV than they are streaming services. But more than that, more importantly than that, sports is the last thing that ties us all together. In 2021, you need to listen to this bit of data here. 6 Thursday night football games on Fox cracked the top 100. This year, Thursday night football is on Amazon Prime. Not a single Amazon Prime game showed up in the top 100. People aren't watching Amazon Prime's football games to that extent. There's a larger point here, and it's not about the NFL, although the NFL remains deeply popular. Despite the take a knee controversy and all of that, the number of people I know who said they'd never ever watch it again, people watch the NFL. People watch the Dallas Cowboys, and not just people in Texas. People watch the NFL and people watch sports. People watch non-political live sporting events. And the problem is this. I watched the college football championship last night, and I had to restart the ESPN app 3 times. I have Fubo, a streaming television service. I also have DirecTV. On my front porch, I don't have a DirecTV outlet, and I was watching it on my front porch TV, so I was streaming it. I don't have a live cable feed. And the result was that people who were watching it live on TV were watching things happen before I did. On Friday night, Kevin McCarthy finally had the votes around midnight to become Speaker of the House, and Mike Rogers of Alabama nearly came to blows on the floor of the House with Matt Gaetz, to the extent Mike Rogers had to be restrained. And people who saw C-SPAN live on TV saw it 30 seconds to a minute before anyone who saw it streaming. Streaming is the new thing. Watching stuff over the internet without having a tethered line to a cable package from a cable television provider. And yet, people want to go watch live sporting events on their cable television provider because I had to start my ESPN app 3 times last night because the neighborhood internet bandwidth was so consumed with people on the internet also streaming it that it was crapping out for everybody in the neighborhood. If I had it on actual television with an actual cable package from DirecTV or the local cable provider, Cox, I wouldn't have had to do that because it would have come in live. It would have come in with fine quality. It would have come in without problems. The other problem with the streaming services now is not everybody has them. In 2021, 6 Fox live broadcasts of football games made it into the top 100. None of Amazon's football games have because not everybody has Amazon Prime. And the poorer you are, the less likely you are to be able to afford all of these streaming packages where everybody wants to go now. If you're a poor person, you could probably afford basic cable. You're going to get ESPN, you're going to get ABC, CBS, NBC, you're going to get your basic news and weather packages, and you're going to get C-SPAN. You can watch all of this stuff live, not in delay, watch it happen live. And if you've got more income, you're switching to streaming services, and your experience is actually degraded. You got to pay $14 for Netflix, $10 for Disney, however much for Apple. You got to pay for Paramount. You got to pay for Peacock. You got to pay for Hulu. You got to pay for all these services. At some point, you're paying more than you're paying for expanded cable. I have a DirecTV package, and the reason I keep it, I don't even watch DirecTV. I do not watch TV on like regular cable anymore. The reason I keep my DirecTV package is so that I can log in online and watch online stuff that I otherwise wouldn't be able to watch. I have a Fubo package that I run for my office so we can get some TV at the office, which is cheaper for the TVs in the office than it is by paying the cable bill to get basic cable. I get more for less, and that makes sense. But then you throw on top all the other services. At some point, it seems like one of these services is going to have to stop producing its own crap in-house original content and be the place where all the services can go to put their stuff on that's not on cable. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work for people. It seems like we have a kernel of an idea for the future, but in the process of getting there, what we're doing, more importantly, is breaking us up into tribal parameters where we can no longer watch the same live events together and share. It used to just be HBO. I had all these friends who would talk about The Sopranos. Rush Limbaugh, dear friend of mine, talking about, oh my gosh, The Sopranos was his favorite show. And he was so mad. I didn't have HBO. I couldn't talk to him about it. He would want to give me the list. Like, I have no idea what show. Tony who? Game of Thrones, The Red Wedding. It was a joke at the National Press Dinner or whatever, the White House Correspondents' Dinner. Barack Obama, when president, was talking about the Red Wedding. He actually made it a joke about the Democrats and how they got wiped out in 2010. He said it was like the Red Wedding. If you haven't watched Game of Thrones, you have no idea what that reference was, and most Americans had never watched Game of Thrones. The most watched cable program in America and around the world, the most watched show was Game of Thrones, but you had to have HBO, and a lot of people didn't. And now it's more and more common. You can't have conversations with people like, I love slow horses. You only can watch slow horses on Apple TV Plus. You don't have to have the Apple TV hardware. And this is the other problem. Apple, the company that should figure this out, can't even figure out how to name its own stupid universe here. You've got the Apple TV software app. You have the Apple TV hardware. You have Apple TV Plus. That's their premium stuff. It makes no sense. But there's a program there. You've got Ted Lasso, which has become famous, but one called Slow Horses. That is one of my favorite things to watch. And then I got to go to Disney Plus to watch Andor. And then not all my friends have Disney Plus and don't have Apple TV. You can't relate anymore on common pop culture. We don't have a common cultural tongue anymore. We don't have common idiomatic expressions anymore. And the thing we all used to be able to relate around television, we no longer have that anymore. We're all in these tribal silos. And that is one of the things I personally believe is further separating us as a country in the vernacular, the common tongue expressions we use on a daily basis. We can't relate to each other at pop culture levels anymore because everything is becoming more and more siloed as you and I are all going bankrupt. $10 a pop per prescription or subscription in addition to basic cable. This isn't sustainable as a nation, as a community, as a society, as someone who pays the bill. Your access to the game should not have to depend on the quality of your internet connection, and it does. And in the meantime, for now, the only thing you and I can have a shared experience about increasingly in America today are election events and football. And I'll take that because I'm a political junkie, and also I really do like watching football. But I'm not sure it's for the best as more and more of the stuff goes to streaming services. And less of it is available on the basic cable package. And more of us get our little scratches taken care of, where you can scratch the itch of my niche by giving me the Hulu premium service that no one else has, where I can watch some TV show. And by the way, I don't have Hulu, and I'm certainly not getting it after they decided to take Nicole Hannah-Jones's propaganda 1619 thing and turn it into a historic revision of America. But I hope you get my point. The top 100 television and streaming events of last year, 94 of them are sports. 82 of them are National Football League. Very few of them are political, except for like a State of the Union address or a January 6th hearing. None of them are the niche streaming shows that everybody buzzes about. The cultural elite in this country are having a conversation about things most people don't watch. And of the things that most people watch, the NFL, they're screaming racism about it, further distorting what's actually going on and what people actually pay attention to. And that's a long-term problem as our country becomes more and more tribal and more fractured and more balkanized.